Historians are history detectives. They use clues to try to figure out what happened in the past. Some historians think that the first Thanksgiving wasn't really a Thanksgiving. They call it the 1621 harvest celebration because it was more like a harvest festival. You can be a historian. On this website, you will discover clues about what really happened at the 1621 harvest celebration. We will follow Dancing Hawk, whose ancestors were at the 1621 harvest celebration, and Sarah, whose ancestor, remember Allerton, was at the 1621 harvest celebration too. Only one of these is a fact. Read the options and see if you can determine which is a fact. Pause the video and hit play when you are ready with your answer. The answer is A. The 1621 harvest celebration lasted 3 days. You completed this picture sort yesterday. Let's visit the expert before we head back home.
Many people think that history and the past are the same thing, but they aren't. The past is what actually happened. The past can never change. You would have had to have lived at the time to truly know about the past. History is how we think and write about the past. History is always changing. So events that occurred in 1621, the past, will never change. But how we think about these events, history, has already changed a lot.
Now, let's read Remember Allerton's neighbor's letter about the harvest celebration. We'll find out what he says happened. But first, think, what do these 4 things have in common? Read the options and see if you can figure out what these 4 things have in common. Pause the video and play it when you are ready with your answer. These are all primary sources. Do you remember what a primary source is? A primary source is a description or account of a time, place, or event that was made by someone who was actually there. Can you believe that only one eyewitness description of the 1621 harvest celebration exists? This is it. Plymouth colonist Edward Winslow wrote this letter to a friend in 1621. We're going to figure out what Edward Winslow says happened in 1621. First, let's listen to the letter being read.
Our harvest being gotten in, our governor sent 4 men on fowling, that so we might, after a more special manner, rejoice together, after we had gathered the fruit of our labours. Therefore in one day killed as much fowl, as with a little help beside, served the company almost a week, at which time, amongst other recreations, we exercised our arms, many of the Indians coming amongst us, and amongst the rest their greatest king Master Swift, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted, and they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation, and bestowed on our governor, and upon the captain, and others. And although it be not always so plentiful, as it was at this time with us, yet by the goodness of God, we are so far from want, that we often wish you partakers of our plenty.
That was a bit difficult to understand. Luckily, we have a magic lens that can change Edward Winslow's words into modern English. Let's read the letter. Our harvest being gotten in, our governor sent 4 men hunting wildfowl so that we might have a special celebration together after we had brought in our crops. Those four in one day killed as much wildfowl that it and some other food served the community for almost a week. At that time, along with other recreations, we practiced shooting muskets. Many of the Wampanoag came to the town, including their leader, Massasoit, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted. And they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation and presented to Governor Bradford and Captain Standish and others. Although food is not always so plentiful as it was at that time, yet by the goodness of God, we are so far from starvation that we often wish you could share our plenty. Let's visit the expert before we head back to our next task.
Primary sources, such as this one, can answer a lot of questions about the past, but they also raise a lot of questions. When historians study primary sources, information written or spoken or drawn by people who were there, they go beyond what they see, hear, and read. They have lots of questions about what happened. They wonder, if the Wampanoag stayed for 3 days, where did all of them sleep? And what else did people eat besides venison and wildfowl? Don't you wonder how differently an English child and a Wampanoag leader might have described the harvest celebration?